Something just changed in the WNBA, and most fans didn't even realize how big it is yet. This isn't just a contract. This isn't just about money. This might be the moment the entire structure of the league quietly shifted. And at the center of it all is A'ja Wilson. Because, well, for the first time ever, a superstar didn't just sign a deal. She rewrote how deals can work. You've got a player locking in $1.4 million, but here's where it gets wild. Her salary isn't fixed. It's tied directly to the team's salary cap, 20%. That means if the league grows, she grows. If the money rises, she rises with it. And you know what that really means? She's not just playing basketball anymore. She's betting on the future of the entire league. And honestly, that's where things start to feel a little uncomfortable. Because while some fans are calling this genius, like revolutionary genius, others are already asking a question that's getting louder by the day. Did A'ja Wilson just secure her legacy, or did she quietly open the door to something that could shake competitive balance across the WNBA? Now, let's slow this down for a second because on the surface, it sounds simple. A superstar gets paid more. Happens all the time, right? But this is different. Every other multi-year deal in league history has been locked in. Fixed numbers, predictable structure, safe, you know what you're getting, teams know what they're paying, and that's that. But this is fluid. This is dynamic. This is, honestly, kind of risky. Because instead of saying, pay me this amount, A'ja essentially said, pay me based on what the league becomes. And that's a massive statement when you think about it. It's confidence, it's leverage, it's power, and yeah, it's also pressure. Because now, her earnings are directly tied to how much the league grows financially. Media deals, sponsorships, expansion, all of it matters. And here's where things get interesting. This kind of structure exists in other leagues in different forms, but for the WNBA, this is brand new territory, completely uncharted. So now you've got fans, analysts, even players looking at this and thinking, wait a second, if this works, doesn't this change everything? Doesn't this mean that the next generation of superstars won't just ask for max contracts? They'll demand a percentage of the system itself? And that's where the controversy really kicks in, because not everyone benefits from a system like this. Think about the locker room for a moment. Think about the role players, the veterans grinding on minimum or mid-tier deals. What happens when one player is tied to the cap while others are locked into fixed numbers? You start to create a gap, not just in pay, but in perception, in influence, in control. And you know how sports work, right? Chemistry matters. Balance matters. So now the conversation shifts from, is this a good deal, to is this fair? Because yeah, A'ja Wilson is one of the best players in the world. No debate there. MVP level dominance, championship pedigree, face of the league energy. She's earned the right to push boundaries. But what happens when other stars follow? What happens when two players on the same team want 20% each? What happens when agents start pushing this model across the league? Suddenly, you're not just talking about one innovative contract. You're talking about a structural shift that could reshape how teams are built. And, you know, that's where fans start to split. Some are saying this is exactly what the players deserve. Others are saying this could break the system. And honestly, both sides kind of have a point. Because let's be real for a second. This move is a power play, a calculated one. A'ja Wilson didn't just accept a deal. She set a precedent. And in sports, precedents are everything. They spread, they evolve, they become expectations. And the WNBA is at a very specific moment right now. Growth is happening. Attention is rising. Money is starting to flow in ways we haven't seen before. So by tying her salary to the cap, A'ja is essentially saying, I believe this league is about to explode, and I want my share when it does. That's confidence? Yeah, but it's also strategy. Because if the league's revenue jumps significantly over the next few years, this deal could look like an absolute steal for her. But here's the flip side, and this is where the tension really builds. What if it doesn't? What if growth slows? What if projections don't match reality? Then suddenly, the risk becomes very real. And now you've got a contract model that's unpredictable, not just for players, but for teams trying to plan their future. Salary cap management becomes more complicated. Long-term roster building becomes more uncertain, and in a league where margins are already tight, that uncertainty can be dangerous. So yeah, this isn't just a feel-good story about a superstar getting paid. This is a gamble, a big one, and you can already feel the ripple effects starting to form. Players are watching, agents are watching, front offices are definitely watching. Because if this works, if A'ja Wilson ends up making significantly more through this structure, you better believe others will follow. It won't be optional. It'll be the new standard. And that's when things really get complicated. Because, well, you can't give everyone 20% of the cap. That's just math. So now teams have to make choices. Who gets that kind of deal, who doesn't? And what happens to the players in between? The ones who aren't superstars, but are still essential pieces. Do they get squeezed out? Do they lose leverage in negotiations because the top-tier players are taking bigger slices of the pie? These are real questions, and they don't have easy answers. And then there's the fan perspective, which is honestly just as divided. Some fans love this. They see it as progress, as players finally gaining control. Others are worried about competitive balance, worried about small market teams, worried that this could create a gap between the top and the rest that's hard to close. And when fans start worrying about fairness, about balance, about the integrity of the game, that's when a simple contract turns into a full-blown debate. So where does this all go from here? That's the question nobody can answer yet. Because this deal, it's not just about the present, it's about the future. It's a test case, a blueprint, or maybe even a warning. If it succeeds, we could be looking at the beginning of a new era in the WNBA, where superstars don't just sign contracts, they shape the financial structure of the league itself. But if it fails, if it creates tension, imbalance, or unintended consequences, then this could be remembered as the moment the league flirted with a risky idea and pulled back. Either way, one thing is clear. A'ja Wilson didn't just make a move. She made a statement. And now the entire league has to respond. So the real question is, what do you think? Is this the smartest contract in WNBA history, or the start of something the league might regret?